Hip-hop, trap, rage, funk, lo-fi, etc. With the time that hip-hop has spent atop the pop charts, a lot of artists have had opportunities to give us a wide range of different sounds. Today, we're going to focus in and hone on the most pop direction, just trap, mainly trap R&B. The reason we're going in a poppy generic direction is so that for all those different styles you might have an interest in making, you can apply these concepts to it without being overly stuck in somebody going on about the cowbell tuning and specific samples that you want to use for that. With that being said, also, do not be the pedant that's saying, technically, this is East Coast Drill Club, you will be scalped. I know it's not the purest trap, okay? But you also know what people mean when they just say trap, like a generic statement. Concepts like rhythm, harmony, sound design, they all come together to make a organized song that people can understand, of course, but especially in the genre of trap, they all converge. Like, they all lean in on each other in a way that's more obvious than I feel like with other genres. So with that being said, you can't skip out on one of these things just because you want to make an ignorant yeep-type beat. You still need to know what a chord is doing. The good news is that the music theory side of this is extremely simple. So again, we're just going to go in and explain them in the easiest terms possible. Like with all, we're going to start off with our inspiration. The track that we are attempting to rip off is Jalil's Uncivilized Go. That track is E-flat major or C minor. It's about 150 BPM, so let's familiarize ourselves with that key real fast. So our E-flat major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And our C minor is just going to start on the 6th of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So same notes. Those are our notes. So first thing we're going to start with is our 808. This is the groundwork. The most identifiable sound is a blown out 808. I'm not going to get super held up in our sound design quite so early on. I'm going to get the idea and the composition structured out first. I recommend you do the same thing. Get just a good enough sound that can inform what you want to write, but don't let it slow you down to the point where you've forgotten the place you want to go with that. Let's try that. What does he sound like? Yeah, that's good. The bass line for Uncivilized is kind of just focusing G sharp, or G, and our D sharp. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and copy it over 4 times. Not for the fact that it's just going to loop for a 4-bar loop, but for the fact that we can start to develop some structure very easily, very quick. Just by taking every other note that's ending our phrase, that very last note's going to be all we change. So let's think. We're in C minor and just choose some notes. I think it would sound good if it went a little lower. And for everybody out there that's listening on your cell phone, I'll get it in a range where you can actually hear it. And we have now a A, B, A, C structure rolling. And we'll fix it later to where it sounds a little better, but we're going to do the same thing with our drums. Same deal for our drums. We just want them to reinforce what's happening with our 808. So let's just find a real quick, just trap drum set. Let's give it a note track. We're going to do something very simple. We're going to give it not even 4 on the floor, something more simple than that. So let's find our kick. Or let's go. Yeah. And we are only going to put it in at the start. Oh. And we're going to clear out that loop that's already in there. What the heck? So to get A, B, A, C structure on this, we are going to add in our variants. Let's consider a weaker kick and a weaker snare. We'll say the clap's there for now. Follow the bass line, and then make the hi-hats very simple. There is a lot of talk about triplets anytime people talk about writing or trap, which I think is crazy. I don't think the triplet has nearly the power that it did a few years ago. I think leaning in on it as the main rhythm motif of your piece is going to make it sound dated. We got a regular old hi-hat loop right here, just holding down some 16ths. Very simple, very effective, and we're going to keep all that pretty low in the mix. We'll use a secondary hi-hat a little later on to add some complexity to it, and then I'm going to replace all these different 808 kicks with some different cymbals. Once again, a crash to announce something big has arrived. For now, we can actually make some chords pretty fast. Our song is just lacking a little bit in the fact that it's just bass and drums. And you can make a whole entire song off that if you want, but I personally think we can add a little bit more so it doesn't get boring so fast. So let's go ahead and take these notes and just drag them up. And we're going to just start making some chords out of them. Wow. Okay. Don't worry. This isn't gonna how it's sound all in the end. We're gonna go through and fix all the sound design, but we just have something functional right now. Matter of fact, we can go through and change the notes a little bit, but we got a lot of notes that we spent a lot of time trying to earn, get worked out. Might as well use these. So let's build a melody off of them. So I'm feeling. Now we're going to come in and do all our sound design stuff. First thing first, all of these drums, put them all on their own channel. Put them all on their own mix. Like, just grab another Centroid and just do a drum mix. And trust me on this. It's going to make everything so much better because now you can process your drums all on their own. The distortion that's going to make your drums sound good won't necessarily make your 808 and your vocals and everything else sound good. So get them all in there by themselves, and then all of a sudden you're not having to pull as much weight on your master. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab another drum machine here, and I am going to find some sample 808s. And there's a ton of them here. One of these are going to be used to back up our 808. So this one we have absolute control over. These, whenever we start tuning them up and down, they're going to start having different links to them. They're going to have completely different decay, and the way that the distortion sound's going to change because it's literally being pitched up and down. This is going to help give us a lot of variety for each of these hits, and also it's just good for layering sounds. Let's mess with this 808 some. Let's give it a little backing through some other bass, and let's make the chords sound a little bit more like a chord. So our 808 now has some distortion from our bit crusher. Just gave it some pre-gain, and I've split the signal so that the sub on our 808, it gets sidechained to the kick. So now the kick has some room to breathe and to get around. Did end up sticking with this Trap 808. Same deal. It's being sidechained. And then I ended up adding a little respace just to get out and under it. And I've taken all of the bass out of that because really I just want that fuzzy end of a Reese. Added a little bit of this kind of choir sounding patch to our chords. I'll show you what that's like. And all I've done on these is I've just copied some of the chords over, gave it a little bit of a different rhythm that's following the same move. Didn't end up doing a whole lot to the chords. I gave it the rest of its oscillators, but truthfully just gave it some distortion through a super fast pulse width modulation, and then bit crushed it a hair. Made it a little more plucky, and then same deal with the tone matrix. I just distorted it. I mean, it sounds really good like that. Oh. And then some reverb, some delay in our aux sends just makes everything really nice. And let's listen to our drums. We have loaded some new samples for our drums. Just completely did this from the ground up. And you'll notice I have some of them tied to pitch. So I have this at about 10.23%. So based off of how hard the velocities get a hit on this, this is going to go up by about 10 cents, maybe. Same thing with hi-hats. I think that sounds really good on. Oh, another thing. Hard kick, soft kick. And then at the end of our drums, a couple different layers of distortion, some multi-band compression to glue it all together, and then a master chain. We just have a limiter here with the gravity, another little bit of multi-band compression for the entirety of the mix, so see that hi-hat's a little sharp, we're bringing that down every now and again. And then we have some distortion after the fact. This is just a clipper. I have the mix set at about 50%, 4 dB of pre-gain. It's a little heavy. And then a final limiter to make sure that we're not clipping where we don't want to on our stereo output. Big thing with running these hard limiters is you can control the RMS window on these. So like no attack, no release. This is the area where you really have control over the sound of your final limiter. All right, now somebody tell me this isn't trap and what genre I actually made a tutorial for.